This is VOCM Open Line. Call 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626. The views and opinions of this program are not necessarily those of this station. The biggest conversation in Newfoundland and Labrador starts now. Here's VOCM Open Line host Paddy Daly.
Well, all right, and good morning to you. Thank you very much for tuning into the program. It's Thursday, November the 13th. This is Open Line. I'm your host, Paddy Daly. David Williams, he's produced the program. We are looking forward to speak with you this morning. So, if you're in the St. John's metro region, the number to dial to get in the queue and on the air is 709-273-5211. Elsewhere, toll-free long distance, 1-888-590-VOCM, which is 8626. So, this will maybe be the last time I mention the Toronto Blue Jays this year. You know, it's nice to see George Springer get a Silver Slugger. Kind of surprised OJ got a Gold Glove. And I was pretty sure John Schneider was going to win Manager of the Year. Like most Jay fans, I've been highly critical of Schneider over the years. But going into the season, the Jays were predicted to finish last in the division, in the AL East, toughest division in the American League. They went on to win the pennant. Best record in the majors. Stephen Vogt, Cleveland Guardians manager, 88 wins for his team, fewer than he had last year. Now, the Guardians did overcome a 15.5 game deficit to the Detroit Tigers, who absolutely imploded, and Vogt won Manager of the Year. Little bit surprised. You know, I see people, why he got robbed? Maybe, but I thought he had enough done. And it doesn't matter that they went to the World Series, because the Manager of the Year award is based on the regular season and the regular season alone. All right, forget it. This one on the local scene, and this is a fantastic story. I've heard about this young athlete many times in the past. Fallon McLaughlin, an absolute standout volley player at O'Donnell High School out in Mount Pearl. She's set to represent Canada at the 25th Summer Deaf Olympics in Tokyo. So it runs from November 15th through the 26th. It's the 100th anniversary of the Deaf Olympics, which is the Deaf Olympic Games. The Deaf Olympics, one of the world's longest running international sporting events. She's the youngest female on Team Canada, the only Newfoundlander or Labradorian competing at this year's Games. 80 countries take part, and young Fallon McLaughlin will be donning the maple leaf representing Canada at the Deaf Olympics in Tokyo. How about that? That's a fantastic story. And just a very quick one. Quick shout out to Dawson Mercer. What a season he's having so far. Scored again last night. Gives him 9 goals on the season already. He's got 16 points in 17 games. And that 9 goals, he scored 19 in the entirety of the last year's regular season and still has not missed a regular season game since he first laced him up. Knock on wood. All right, just to throw around a little repeated warnings when we talk about the online shopping days that are Black Friday and Cyber Monday. It's, enticing to get a deal, and it will be all the rage, and huge volume of sales are done on Black Friday and Cyber Monday, but here's just a couple of things to be mindful of. And here's some of the, by the numbers, examples of fraud over the holidays, in particular those 2 days. More than 2 million Canadians were scammed during Black Friday or Cyber Monday events. In Canada, 2.6% of online transactions during Cyber Monday in 2024 were flagged as fraudulent. That's a 51% increase year over year. So lots to be mindful of. Artificial intelligence-powered fraud. All kinds of fake retailer websites, phishing emails, deepfake videos. It's a problem. Be wary of the QR codes that are in some of these links. Don't click them. The TikTok shop scams, really popular. Digital pickpocketing. So what happens there is the criminals use contactless payment devices to skim data from your phones or your wallets without any physical contact. So don't click on any links or emails or texts. Make sure you verify the URLs and look at the HTTPS security indicators. Use your credit card. Be skeptical of anything that says limited time offers. Generally speaking, that's probably a scam. And if you don't recognize the seller, do a little bit of research before you click buy. Some things to be aware of on these 2 very popular shopping days. Also, like today, we're involved in a 24-hour radiothon in support of Daffodil Place. And one call yesterday from a fellow named Stan, who was trying to make a donation to the We Stand on Guard Once More, in conjunction with the Canadian Red Cross. And when he was told there was a transaction fee for his credit card, he decided not to, which got a lot of reaction in my email inbox. I can tell you that. No fewer than 100 emails on it. And it got me thinking, on top of looking around and doing a bit of research into the charity or the not-for-profit you're trying to support or considering supporting, it's the whole concept of the credit card transaction fee. Yes, I'm sure it rubs many people the wrong way. I totally get it. But if I thought about it, when I thought about it a little bit more yesterday, if the charity doesn't charge you the fee, then the fee comes out of your donation. So it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other. So when people are pointing fingers of blame at the charities, it might be a little bit misguided because it's the credit card company. And, they're not necessarily our friends. Just look at the rate of interest we pay on our credit cards. But in a perfect world, charities maybe could be exempt from credit card transaction fees or a far reduced fee. So that's where it's coming from. It's the credit card. So we pick our poison here. Either the charity gets less of the money you want to donate, or you pay the fee, or the credit card companies into the future with a bit of goodwill and a bit of good corporate citizenry, maybe a reduction in fees for those sort of charitable transactions. You want to talk about it? Let's go. All right. So we've heard many, many stories about examples of violence in schools. The stories of children, young adults, bringing weapons to school. Some of those for offensive purposes and some of them for defensive purposes. We've heard the numbers about the number of time law enforcement has to be called to a school, and it happened again yesterday out in Gander, St. Paul's Intermediate. Young person arrested and now charged with uttering threats. The exact nature of the threats, I don't know. And I'd like to also know, or be reminded, exactly what's the protocol to inform the parents of the students in that school or any school where this type of arrest and charge has been laid. Few emails from parents who are justifiably shook up. Now, some parents are maybe a little bit more nervous than others, but it's quite understandable if those types of things are happening in your child's school, which you know full well leads to examples of children getting up and saying, I don't want to go. I'm scared. What a way to go through a school year. Afraid. It's one thing to be worried about your physics exam, one thing to be worried about being made fun of because of your looks, which is all bad enough, but imagine just being physically, mentally, emotionally afraid to go to school. So yet another example of that kind of violence, and, well, at least the uttering of threats, I should say. All right, maybe some people are going to get sick of this, but we're going to have to keep banging this drum. Yet another story in the media, in the news, regarding artificial intelligence, and it's worth noting. So there's this consumer advocacy group called Public Citizen. They've sent a letter on Tuesday to OpenAI, and this is about video generation software called Sora 2. It can be quite fun to use, right? You just imagine whatever. Martin Luther King selling newspapers on the corner or whatever. And very quickly you can have an AI-generated visual and it spread far and wide, whether it be on TikTok or Instagram, X, Twitter, or Facebook. So here's some of the examples. Queen Elizabeth II rapping, or what else we got here? Depicts fake doorbell camera footage capturing something slightly uncanny, whatever it be, an alligator approaching an unfazed child. But it gets worse than that. So there's many examples, and the videos are floating around, where they talk about fetishized niche content made through the app's restrictions. So what they've seen is a bunch of videos of women being strangled. Like, the concept of misinformation and our privacy, it's just going to get worse. It's already extremely difficult to understand what you're looking at or reading or seeing is actually real or not. So when it goes down that rabbit hole, and consider the environmental impact of artificial intelligence between energy and water, I'm not so sure we're on the right track. Now, what could be done about it? Is it a matter of government regulation, which nobody's really in the mood for, the heavy hand of government coming too far down on these types of things? But it's potentially dangerous. There's more lawsuits being filed this week, 7 new lawsuits in California, claiming that a chatbot, ChatGPT, drove people to suicide and harmful delusions, even when they had no prior mental health issues. So they even talk about internal warnings that OpenAI, ChatGPT, are dangerously psychopathic, psychologically manipulative. So again, I'm sure people are going to get tired of hearing me talk about AI and what it means and how we use it, and the difficulty, ever-growing difficulty, in realizing what we're looking at, whether it's real or fake. It's a problem. It really, truly is. And add into it one more time the amount of power and water required so people can make little 30-second videos to share on social media. Is it really worth it? Anyway, yes, AI and healthcare applications. Sure, absolutely. Seems incredibly effective and helpful, but not necessarily in the big scheme of things. Your thoughts? All right, I read a really bizarre opinion piece in one of the national media post this week, and it was about, the fallacy or the ridiculous nature of being encouraged to buy local. I don't know why that's a bad thing. No, it's your money. You do whatever you like. But for small businesses in this country, given the implication of tariffs, and it's not just about the importation of some of the components of what they eventually make, it's so many small businesses, and in this case, for instance, crafters. Might not sound like a big deal, but it is to them. When there was an exemption that was entered by the Americans called the de minimis exemption, which basically said you're allowed to sell goods into the United States that was valued under $800 American without any extra fees. And so now, with that exemption gone away, they're paying extraordinary fees, which they can't afford to pay. It's gobbled up the entire profitability of their business, so they lost the American market. And you can't make it up with domestic buy local thoughts or practices, but it's going to be pretty important into the future. So just that one reminder, if you're so inclined and you're looking for the holiday gift, because here we are in that shopping season, especially in the smaller businesses in the worlds of crafts and what have you, they've lost a big chunk of their American market. So just for your consideration, to consider buying local if you're so inclined. And on that front, with the new government in play here now, of course, everyone's well aware of the fact that the PCs have a majority government, is the whole concept of internal trade. The past Liberal government, they weren't that high on it. Eventually struck a deal with mail-order alcohol, which is kind of really all that the kerfuffle was about. But I wonder, is there a change in tune with the PCs about interprovincial trade? Some momentum has been achieved across the country. We do know prior to this, even though there was a free trade agreement signed in 2017, not much action really took place on the heels of it. It cost Canadian consumers billions of dollars a year because of these provincial jurisdictions and their territorial you-know-whats. So I just wonder aloud whether or not there's an opportunity for the PCs to address that and what it might mean for the consumer. And on that front, when speaking with Premier Wakeham, and we do know that the infamous Mike Wilson resignation letter was released unredacted. And of course, just as a reminder, Mike Wilson was one of the 3 people originally appointed to the independent oversight body looking at the Upper Churchill MOU. And there was lots to learn from Mike Wilson, both on this show and in the entirety of his letter. And we can talk about that if you're so inclined. So that was one example of Premier Wakeham talking about public disclosure insofar as transparency is concerned. And I asked him directly on this program. We saw the Moya Green report. It was released in its entirety. And the Rothschild report, which I'd really like to have a look at. I must say, considering that me and you paid for it, I'd like to see what's inside the covers of it. Some of the recommendations that we heard from Green were divesting from the oil equity stakes. At the time, in opposition, Tony Wakeham said quite clearly that he sees that as an indication of getting away from offshore oil production, which some people applaud, but it didn't necessarily have to mean that. So even if they're not interested in divesting, the then Liberal government, did go out to the market to see what the value might be. So even if the Tories are not interested in any divesting, it would be nice to know what those numbers are. So if we're going to be transparent, let's get a look at those numbers, because obviously there's numbers in hand at this moment in time. And I just think for the curiosity of it all, considering where we are with the debt and deficit, if it's a massive number that should be publicly considered, that doesn't mean we turn off the valves, stop pumping in the current offshore production area, but it'd be nice to know what that value is. And just for your reminder, 4.9% equity at Hebron, Hibernia South is 8.7%. Then we got 5% in the White Rose Extension Project, all of the intellectual property at Oilco, which is of course splintered away from Nalcor those years ago. So I'd like to see those numbers. Also, you wonder what the stance might be, and I can't believe this hasn't given more conversation, are things like, we know Marble's in trouble. Bull Arm has been dealt with insofar as the lease to Narl goes, and hopefully they're quite aggressive in trying to get some of these military contracts that could or should be available to them. And it's the NLC. It would still bring plenty of revenue in the form of excise tax with the sale of alcohol, if and when it's sold off in part or in full. And we still don't even know what that necessarily means. But this is an interesting post I saw yesterday, and I did verify it with numbers from Stats Canada. What it shows, it indicates the return of the respective liquor boards to government. Net income, plus taxes collected, plus fees. All of this, of course, relative to net sales. The Canadian average of return is 65%. For the NLC, it's 101%. Why this is important in the hospitality sector is that just look at the struggle, and the struggle is real, regarding restaurants and bars. So can there be a way to protect those tens of thousands of jobs, which are difficult enough to fill and to maintain and keep your staff on board for the long term? And heading into the pretty lean months over the course of the winter, that's an important conversation. It's one thing for the restaurants and bars to be busy at the heights of the tourism season, but that average nationwide of 65% compared to 101% for the NLC is an interesting way to look at the restaurant and bar and hospitality sector. And I appreciate Todd posting that, and I was happy to gobble it up. All right. A couple of quickies before we get to you. So today in Terrace, BC, the Prime Minister will be announcing the next wave of what they refer to as nation-building projects, all under the auspices of the Major Projects Office. Now, we all know, talk about fast-tracking infrastructure. None of the projects are in this province, but worth considering. So, critical mineral mine in New Brunswick, a nickel mine in Ontario, liquefied natural gas in BC, a hydro project in Iqaluit, and the graphite mine phase 2 in Quebec. Also, we're being told there's also a transmission project in BC, the North Coast Transmission Line. Why that's an important conversation here is a few things. Number one, and we're going to have a conversation about critical minerals and mining here shortly here this morning with the Mining Association. So where are we on some of these project lists? And maybe just for a better understanding of exactly what we're sitting on insofar as critical minerals, environmental review processes, what have you. But when we talk about hydro in Iqaluit, because we've got a big conversation in this province regarding the Upper Churchill and Gull. Then, most interestingly to me, is transmission. If the feds are going to be involved, whether it be fast-track based on being greenlit environmentally and or financially invested in these transmission projects, because we know the province of Quebec is actively lobbying the federal government for investment in transmission, which would change how we think about the Upper Churchill and Gull and this proposed MOU. Because it would change things. If the feds get involved in the province of Quebec on transmission, it would have an impact on the who gets what type of benefit from this move towards definitive agreements. Same thing with the East-West Energy Corridor, which the Prime Minister himself has opened up that door. And we know that's a mythical unicorn that's been kicked around since John Diefenbaker. But the feds are clearly involved in critical minerals, and clearly involved in hydro, clearly involved in transmission. What does that mean for us into the long term? I think it's a question worth pursuing or perusing. Your thoughts. All right. Someone wants me to bring up, of course, the bloody Epstein story. Look, I've had the same position on this from day one. And yesterday there was a release of hundreds, if not thousands, of emails, and people will talk about the mention of specific people, even though if Trump's name has appeared, he hasn't been accused of any wrongdoing based on what we saw yesterday. So let me get that aside. But can we all just get down to the brass tacks of acknowledging out loud that we know the hesitation or the reservation by not releasing every single detail that we can get our eyes on, and the chase of all the examples of wire transfers, rich and powerful people are being protected. It's as simple as that. And for me, I don't care who's on that list insofar as what party they represent, what industry they represent, what side of the political spectrum they're on. If people can be justifiably and proven to be guilty of being involved in sex trafficking of girls, raping children, can we all just not agree that that is bad? Can we all not just agree that those who are responsible should be held to account? I mean, I know the rich and the powerful have their thumb on the scales of justice. They've got two hands wrapped around the throats of government and have far too much control. But we're talking about pedophiles. Like, the back and forth on social media is grotesque. It just is. If you are involved in raping children, you should go to prison. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, how much money you have, what party you're associated with. There's apparently a Canadian billionaire on the list. So even if we're just looking at our own national interest, I mean, come on. We're on Twitter, or VOCM Open Line. You can follow us there. Email address is openline@vocm.com. And we're going to discuss critical minerals. Joining us right after the break is the Executive Director at Mining NL. That's Amanda McCallum, to talk critical minerals and exploration. Then plenty of time for you. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number one and say good morning to the Executive Director at Mining and L. That's Amanda McCallum, and we get the right button. Good morning, Amanda. You're on the air.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Excellent today. Thanks. How about you?
I'm good, thank you.
You know, there's a lot of talk high level about critical minerals and the global thirst for them, and we talk about just how much can be found in this province. Just paint the picture of just the wealth of critical mineral resources that are indeed in this province.
Sure. So, various jurisdictions around the world publish critical minerals listing, and Canada's no exception. So, Canada has a list of critical minerals. There's 34 that have been identified, and just kind of high-level critical minerals. The caveat being they're essential to Canada's economic security. You know, they're required for a transition to a lower carbon economy, as well as just having a sustainable source of critical minerals. So, like I said, Canada has 34. Here in this province, we have about 27, 28 of those identified critical minerals that we know currently to exist. Big picture, the United States, has a list of 50. They updated that as of Friday of last week, and there's now 60 different critical minerals identified, and we have over 34 of those, 50, 60. So this province, when it comes to our endowment of minerals and metals, it's very generous.
And we just had one added to the list in Canada not that long ago, high purity iron ore, which is significant when we talk about resources in Labrador. Okay, so I really thought there would be a lot of fast-track action here in the critical minerals world, given we're talking about, it's not just electric vehicles or solar panels, but it's in your mobile phone, it's in medical devices, it's part of defense applications. So I'm a little bit surprised there's not more activity. Can you give us an idea of what kind of activity is actually happening?
I think just big picture, the mining sector is not a sector that often makes mainstream media. I think it's a pillar to our economy, and it's just now because of this language around critical strategic minerals and metals that has brought it a little bit more in the popular domain. But to your point, just recently in the federal government, the budget that was tabled, there were a variety of initiatives supporting investments and advancements of searching and exploring for critical minerals with the establishment of an endowment fund. Canada had added about 12 different additional critical minerals to their list that would be eligible for funding, and that included 2 critical minerals which would benefit projects in this province. That would be fluorspar as well as manganese, which is a byproduct recovery for Tacora's operations in Labrador West. So to your point, I think that we would like to see more, but we're moving in the right direction.
Moving in the right direction, if we talk about new mines or expansion of existing mines, a lot of it boils down to, support for exploration, obviously, and then there's plenty of money required to open or to expand a mine, but it also requires power. That gets a lot of conversation, and understandably so. But even when we talk about the access to power that's currently out there and the quadrupling of the Labrador recall block, but that's not over that's over the course of 30, 35 years. So how big is the access to power conversation if we're talking about expanding the industry?
Access to power is critical. Industry cannot expand, industry cannot grow, industry cannot decarbonize without power. It's that simple. So if you look specifically in Labrador West, power is a required prerequisite. I'm not going to share a stat that hasn't already been in the public domain. Tacora, I believe, uses about 50 megawatts of power for their expansion to be completed. They need at least 200 megawatts of power. So it's a requirement. It's a prerequisite. Industry cannot grow without access to power.
It's going to feel like we're bouncing around a little bit because that's just the nature of my mind. So it's one thing to explore and it's another to produce. It's quite another to have a conversation regarding supply chains, because over the course of history, maybe use Long Harbour as a bit of an exemption here. What kind of momentum is in your industry talking about actually doing some secondary processing on these highly sought after, highly valuable and lucrative minerals and metals?
Okay, so you jumped around, so I'm going to jump around a little bit. When you look at the full value chain, I mean, you can't achieve processing if we don't actually explore and we don't have that support on the front end to keep this cycle, this continuum of a cycle. So if you want to grow the ecosystem, you have that growth starts with exploration and having a healthy exploration. And I often refer to exploration as a bit of a subsector of the whole industry as unto itself. So in Newfoundland and Labrador over the past 4 years, inclusive of 2025, we've seen a total of about $1.168 billion invested in exploration. So for 2025, forecasted exploration expenditures are $258 million. And for the last, several years, it's been over $230 million. So this is a substantial amount of money being invested into projects into this province. This is new money. This is not money which is already, in the ecosystem being recycled. So this is foreign direct investment. So if we want to really be intentional about growing this sector, you do that from an extractive resources sector on the front end through exploration. Exploration requires accessibility to land. Investors are not going to invest in projects if they don't see a pathway to development. So we need to be able to ensure that our projects can work its way through that process, pending that it's a deposit of economic significance, and that requires a lot of capital. So being able to search and explore for critical and strategic minerals and metals, it's essential for us to have a healthy and a robust exploration sector. The permitting process right now in Canada to go from a find to a mine on average is just under 18 years. So there's a lot of pinch points and pressure points along the way to be able to develop these projects, again, from a find to a development. And then if you're talking about secondary processing, that's a whole nother layer to this.
Sure.
So this is a big process, but if we're, like I said, if we really want to be intentional about having this continuous supply in this pipeline for responsible mining to be done, in jurisdictions where we have high environmental standards, responsible activity and stewardship, and for people here in this province to be able to benefit economically and socially, then that has to start and be intentionally supported at the front end of the value chain through exploration.
Okay, I'll bounce back with you and we'll leave processing aside. So with the most recent federal budget, and talk about expansions of the exploration tax credit, and there are some junior mining programs of support here provincially. What's missing then insofar as support into the exploration world?
Well, the province, through various funding initiatives, do support early exploration activities. But I think that we would, like to see more supports there for explorers. At a national level, there's the Mineral Exploration Tax Credit, which the Mining Association of Canada and the PDAC have been strongly advocating for. That was just recently announced in the budget that was going to be continued. I'd like us as a province, as a jurisdiction, to look at how we could do something at a provincial level. So maybe that's a Newfoundland and Labrador Mineral Exploration Tax Credit, to see if there's value in us looking at that, and then that's something that could be stacked. So there's other jurisdictions that that are also bringing in substantial amount of exploration investment dollars. Quebec and Ontario and Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan in particular has ranked in the first place in Canada on the Fraser Institute for investment attractiveness. Newfoundland and Labrador, we've been ranking, it's second in Canada, and we rank in the top 10 globally. So, I mean, that's not the top 10 in Canada, that's not the top 10 in North America, that's the top 10 in the world. So we want to ensure that we're exploring and we're looking at, continuing to make this province attractive from an investment attractiveness lens. We're really a frontier district here, and when I say frontier, I mean we're underexplored and we're underdeveloped. So we have a substantial, I think, really a generational opportunity here for Newfoundland and Labrador to continue to build that momentum. We've got, companies coming in here, picking up projects, scaling up their activities because of the fact that we've been underexplored and the fact that we also have, world-class mineral types and world-class ore deposits. So we've been a bucket list destination for geologists for a long time, just because we have that right geological environment, and we just want to continue to ensure that we incentivize so that this jurisdiction remains competitive globally.
Yeah, you mentioned Saskatchewan, driven in large part by phosphorus and potash, of course, which is part of the international trade conversation. Last one. So from find to operational mine, and you talk about average around 18 years. Have you seen the most recent report from Dalhousie from Alana Westwood regarding the patchwork of laws and regulations regarding consistency?
I did see that report, yes.
Okay, so what do we make of this? Because here's just one of the quotes from the author. If you think about the Rogers Centre where the Blue Jays played, imagine an open pit that size, now multiply it by 800. That's the size of the pits of many of these proposed mines, the size of a small city, some of them in terms of the footprint. Then they talk about groundwater pollution. It could last, for thousands of years. So how do we shorten that time frame of find to operations, 18 years, with the environmental concerns and the disconnect between the different provinces? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me that you wouldn't have a consistent approach to environmental assessments, even if we just stick with Atlantic Canada, for instance. So what was your takeaway when you read this report?
I think that a big statement first. I mean, industry's legacy of the past should not be a liability for the future. That's my first statement, I would say, in response. Secondly, when it comes to provinces, territories, and the federal government, when it comes to the environmental assessment process, currently since the federal government has had their environmental assessment process, we have some of the most stringent and regulated processes. So from an industry lens, we're seeing a lot of duplication and a lot of overlap. So by shortening the process, it's not taking away any rigor of that process. It's just removing some of the bureaucracy. So that's the concern when it comes to these permitting timelines. And of course, the environmental assessment process is any industrial development projects have to go through an environmental assessment process. The mining industry is one of any. So if you want to put in any sort of a road or a highway, but any development requires natural resources, earth resources. So I don't. I see these reports. I can't really comment to the details of the report, other than to say that from an industry lens, we're seeing a lot of overreach from the federal government when it comes to the process, and a lot of duplication. So I think that we'd like to see things more streamlined and removing some of those bureaucratic barriers.
Because time doesn't necessarily equate comprehensive for complete, or and shortening timeframes doesn't mean you throw caution to the wind. We did it in the oil industry. Don't know why it couldn't be applied to the mining sector. Amanda, appreciate your time here this morning. Thanks for doing it. Anything else you'd like to say?
No, just thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to chatting again in the future.
Me too. Thank you, Amanda.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Amanda McCallum, Executive Director of Mining NL. Let's take a break. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go. Line number 3. Julie, you're on the air.
Good morning, Patty.
Hi there.
I'll take you off speaker 1 second now.
Okay.
There we go. Yes, I just wanted to call in this morning because somebody very near and dear to me is going through a very rough time right now with some mental health issues. And navigating the system is just so excruciatingly frustrating and long. And I just wanted to bring light to, we all know that mental health is an illness, and we've tried to take the stigma away from mental health as the stigma that was put on it over the years. but trying to get real help is very, very difficult. If I could, I'll just read you a very short paragraph this person sent to me yesterday. He said, I've been suffering mentally for more than a decade, and it's only getting worse. Every day feels like a fight just to get through. I can't go to work, even though I have a full-time job. Some days I can barely get out of bed. It affects everything, my mind, my body, my whole life. I've been trying to get help, but the wait to see a psychiatrist is unbelievably long. It feels like people like me are being forgotten. It feels like I'm slipping through the cracks, and I'm scared of what might happen if nothing changes soon. I need help, and I need it now. And it was just a heartbreaking message to read.
It sure is. People send me stories like that so often, Julie. It's overwhelming some days. And then the next issue for me is try to help. And sometimes it's really hard to know what to do, because if they're in the system and they're simply waiting to see a psychiatrist or waiting for whatever level of diagnosis or treatment, it's hard to know where to point them. So how do you approach your friend who has written you this note?
First of all, I'm going to be writing the Minister of Health, and I'm going to be CCing it to both opposition parties. I know it might not do anything, but we got to try to do something. Like this young man, he's been in hospital because of his mental health issues. He's been admitted to hospital. He sees a psychiatrist while he's there, but when he's released and sent home, he doesn't have access to a psychiatrist. He's on a wait list for a psychiatrist for 2 years now. He needs continuing care, and not only him, but others like him. And, like you said, you're at a loss as to where to point them. But I guess we can only just keep speaking out, because they are loved ones that they deserve to be looked after. And it's really hard to know what to be doing.
There's one interesting point you made there that I think is critically important here. And it's one thing to be in and then discharged, and then back in and discharged, see one counsellor, see a different counsellor. The continuity of care in mental health is so important. As opposed to trying to start from the beginning and retell your story, then trying to familiarise yourself with the next therapist or counsellor or psychiatrist or psychologist. So that continuity piece, that gets lost far too often in the conversation, and it is crucial.
It is crucial, and it is the only thing that will probably work for most people. And not being continuous. You're, like you said, just starting over and over and over. And for somebody who doesn't have the energy or the mental stability to get out of bed in the morning, even presenting to emergency is very daunting.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And then, sometimes it's hard for me to understand every moving part of a story. When people tell me that they're having the suicidal ideations, and we tell them and we ask them to present themselves at the new mental health and addictions facility, and sometimes that doesn't even get them anywhere. So it's really a tricky conversation at the best of times. But to your point, speaking out, I think, has been helpful. There has been some increase in access. Now, it's not ideal. It's nowhere close to, but I think it's getting better. Now, that will get me in a bit of hot water, but I do think that. And the pathway to it being as accessible as it needs to be, we're at the starting line.
You might be getting a little better, but we have to continue to speak out to make it a lot better, I think.
Yeah, fair enough. So in the form of speaking out, just in your opinion, how should we be speaking out? Because it's one thing to simply say, it's broken, they're not working in our best interest, as opposed to specific things that could indeed be addressed, because we can't just all of a sudden flip a switch and we triple the number of psychiatrists working in the province. So do you have any, baby step issues where we can start? Because that's probably going to be the best pathway to improvement, is step by step, as opposed to pretending that in one fell swoop we can fix it.
Well, I think that we need to keep not only reminding but insisting to our elected officials that this type of care, well, any type of health care, and this one as well included, is critical. It's probably one of the most critical issues facing any of us as a population. It's okay, to have good roads. We all want good roads. We all want good infrastructure. But if we don't have good health care and people are dying in front of us, all of it is for naught.
Absolutely. And what a heartbreaking thing to think, and even more so to be able to say, and to say it accurately, because it's true.
It's true. It's true. Absolutely. So I'm just praying for this loved one of mine that he's going to be able to get the help that he needs. He's a bright young man. Like I said, he has a full-time job, but he'll go back to work for a couple of weeks, and he has to take off again because he just mentally can't handle it. And without continuing care, nothing is going to change.
Sad state of affairs. Hopefully things improve for your friend, and I really appreciate you doing some advocacy on their behalf this morning. Thanks for calling, Julie.
Thank you so much, Patty. Have a good day.
You too.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Oh, that was a bit quick. Let's get a break in. Don't go away. Welcome back. Let's go to line number 2. Say good morning to the CEO at the Alzheimer's Society of Newfoundland and Labrador. That's Shirley Lucas. Hi, Shirley. You're on the air.
Hi. Good morning. How are you?
Great today. How about you?
Good. So I just wanted to call in today to, make people aware of some educational sessions that we offer on an ongoing basis. And we actually have one coming up next week on November the 19th, where Dr. Butler will be presenting to families on the dementia journey about the day of placement. Obviously, these types of sessions are important to keep people informed of how to navigate the healthcare system and ways that we as the Alzheimer's Society can support them going forward.
It's so important for this to be presentations to families, because far too often the caregiver, the family, the loved ones are left out of the conversation. We focus in on the diagnosis.
Absolutely. It is important that people recognize that there are at least 2 people affected by the diagnosis. Oftentimes it's more than 2 with extended family and various things like that. So to be, prepared as best possible, it's important to avail of any educational programs out there to help people understand what the diagnosis means, as well as what the healthcare system has to offer in services, so people are intercepting with them at the right times.
This is a question based on ignorance. Is day of placement when you move into a care home?
Yes.
Okay.
So it is to kind of prepare people for adjusting to the moves. Obviously, it's a very difficult decision, and one that we all would have difficulty with in terms of making the decision and then on the day of the move itself. So just tips and suggestions to help families cope with that transition, to make that easier in the process.
So what are some of the basics on that front? Because you can only imagine the confusion and the anxiety. It's one thing for the patient, but it's quite another for the family. So what are we talking about for tips to prepare?
Well, as a family, if we were to choose what the course would be in the dementia journey, we would all choose to keep them at home as long as possible. So from an emotional point of view, it's a very stressful day for everyone. It's important to kind of, to help with that transition in bringing familiar things for their loved one to the facility, making sure they're surrounded by support, not doing it alone, having somebody go with them on the day of placement, as well as, taking time to kind of talk to the people at the facility, learn about the facility and what their new role will be in that transition.
I'm not sure how to ask this one, but I know friends of the family that are going through this at this moment in time. They're not all the way to putting their loved one in care, but it's coming. So, and they have a big family. The conversation that I hear them having, I'm not trying to be involved because it has nothing to do with me, but is it important to sort of reduce the numbers of people directly involved in the transition? Because, as the sons or daughters or cousins or aunts or uncles, everyone would like to play some sort of role to show that they care. But that comes with some complications and potential for mixed messages. So should we, just pick a couple of voices inside the family to be part of this direct transition, or is it all hands on deck?
Well, I think that, the initial first few days, selecting a couple people would probably be a better transition for the person who is going through it. And I think as the role of the family changes, it will be kind of coordinating in terms of visits to the home to make sure that the person in the community gets breaks and has the comfort of knowing that somebody else is being there. So, setting up schedules as to when people can visit initially family would be helpful, so that the person themselves feel supported, as well as the primary caregiver, to try to reduce some of the burnout of the transition into care and how that will impact them emotionally as well as physically in terms of being able to get to the facility. Maybe it's a case where, it's an older adult and they may need support, and having the extended family take that person to the home to visit their loved one and different things of that nature. I think it's really important to have open communication, to have those discussions and try to find the best path forward. And we, as the Alzheimer's Society, can certainly be a part of providing, information on ways to do that, to be able to help people with that transition.
One more time, Shirley, the details for the presentation.
Pardon me?
I think you told us that Dr. Butler's going to be making a presentation. I just wonder where and when.
Oh, he's making the presentation here at our office at 835 Topsail Road. If people would like to avail of it, they can certainly call our office at 576-0608. And I should note that this presentation is part of a learning series that we offer. So in essence, we are offering 15 weeks of the dementia journey to help families at different stages in terms of what to expect on the dementia journey, looking at some legal and financial things to take into consideration. So there's lots of opportunities to learn about the different stages.
And as we've talked about in the past, maybe we'll do it again next time, for the provinces and for the country to be prepared for the forecasted numbers of dementia I'm not so sure we're really following the numbers. We're talking about by 2050, 187% increase in people's living with dementia in this country. It's remarkable when you think about it.
It is. It's scary when you think about it.
It is that.
In terms of the amount of numbers and how they're going to increase in the coming years. And I think that it's important that, we create awareness out there so that people feel supported in the community. And that people, as I said, get access to the necessary supports, access to education to be able to help everybody through their individual process.
Appreciate your time, Shirley. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Right. Bye-bye.
Shirley Lucas, CEO of the Alzheimer's Society. All right, let's take a break for the news. Well, we started the show talking critical minerals. We're going to pick up after the news, talk about rare earth minerals. Don't go away. Welcome back to the program. Let's go to line number 3, say good morning to the CEO of Search Minerals. That's Joseph Lanzon. And good morning, Joseph. You're on the air.
Good morning, Patty. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Happy to have you on the program. Let's start with the absolute basics. We spoke with Amanda McCallum at Mining NL, talk about critical minerals. What's the difference between a rare earth mineral or element and critical minerals?
Well, it's the definition of where it fits in the marketplace. We have two types of rare earths. We got the lights and we got the heavies. The heavies are more about the magnets. They are more about, as we say, the defense establishment. The light ones can be used for the telephones, for the TVs, for all kinds of other consumer goods. We Search Minerals, after 16 years of drilling, development, and having the right geology, we will be able to go with 2 lights and 2 heavies right off the bat to market. That's our targets.
So you've got 2 sites, Foxtrot and Deep Fox, and that's just around St. Louis, Labrador. So give us some idea of the wealth of rare earth you're sitting on in those 2 deposits.
Well, in terms of mining years, we're talking around 25 years of mining. But also, you got to appreciate, it's not lab city type of mining. I came from the iron ore industry myself, and the zinc, always base metals. But what you have here in St. Louis is very precise mining. Critical minerals, as you know, is not like digging for gold or copper. You don't go there and find it. What happens is that after the geology has been proven, then there is a whole processing place that right now we are not focusing on that, Patty, simply because we have solutions. There is lots of solutions. There is lots of discussion. But as you know, critical minerals soon will be part of the Homeland Security network. So we'll have to be more attentive to what the needs of the market are. So right now in St. Louis, the opportunity is immense because of the discovery. And that is thank you to Dr. Randy Miller, which is a well-known scientist and a geoscientist. Just at this past CIM, he was recognized by his peers. Just as you heard earlier, now what we have after 16 years, we're now ready to go to the next level of financing and the next level of permitting. The permitting now has started with the provincial government. Search Minerals is quite lucky in that sense that the only federal jurisdictions that we have to deal with is DFO, Fisheries and Oceans. Anytime you touch water in our country is a total independent situation with Fisheries and Ocean. We got scheduled a promise. Minister Lloyd Parrott is a Labradorian. He understands mining. He knows what the struggle about mining is all about and is appreciative on how we can now take this project to the next level, which is full environmental review for a mining permit. And that will be the first time in Atlantic Canada. We are the only project that will have critical minerals, rare critical minerals, CREs and REs, as we call them, in Labrador will be the first in Atlantic Canada. The government has sort of mentioned to us that we should be able to, after 16 years of development, but also a lot of work has been done along the process. As you know, this is a process of constant permitting. You got to look at mining as having is like the mint is constantly producing environmental review studies and consultations with the three communities: St. Louis, Mary's Harbor, and Port Hope Simpson. Communities, dear Patty, that you've never seen the support that is available there. And also that economically we could take advantage of a very, very good situation with a lot of intelligent and instructed people. The level of education on the South Coast, many of the young men and women are all working all around the world because of the high level of technical expertise that we have. We're going to try and attract that and bring everybody to St. Louis.
How complicated would it be to onshore some of the metallurgical process, which is currently, my understanding, is being done outside of Canada? And that's part of the precision mining, to separate the rare earth minerals and elements from the ores that are mined. So is that part of Search's plan to, bring domestically some of the metallurgical processes required here?
Absolutely. The only issue that we have right now is that in Labrador, we are still dealing with electricity. So to start, we'll have to see how that works, but potentially there are sites in Newfoundland itself where it's a lab, Patty. What we are developing is white coats jobs. These are very clean jobs, very detailed jobs. It's not what we know about mining, trains, Lab City, the beautiful rocks of iron ore. This is a process of scientists trying to get our rocks have about 8 metals. So we are going to try and see how many of them can come out from these columns. You got to think of this, the North American process is not allowed to use any of the Chinese, Mongolian, or Russian approaches. So that's where the whole world, or the whole Western world right now, is looking at that particular solution. How best can we do it for the environmental review component? Because as you know, once the rocks are processed, there will be a little bit of heat. So that means that there is a bit of radioactivity that we have to deal with.
How much power would be required, Joseph, for to maximize, whether it be the extraction and then for the metallurgy?
Look, back of the envelope calculation, we got some more detailed calculation with them. We at least need 3 megawatts, between 3 and 5 megs. Because you got to remember, this is intensive chemistry, intensive labs. It's not, it's not like a dryer. It's a met plant. You got to think of it as a met plant. And sort of discussion purposes that we have when we know about met plants in Labrador. So that's what we need in terms of that power. We can start the mining, and we can start a very light processing, which is to sort of clean up the material as it goes off to the labs. Now, it could be in Canada. There's very limited ways of doing this, or very limited places that we could go. But we are talking across, and of course, the U.S. is a very important player in all of this as well.
Last one before I let you go. So in the most recent federal budget, they talked about the $2 billion creation of a critical mineral sovereign fund. I'm not entirely sure how it works, but does that have an impact on your organization? Does it include rare earth?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. To access that, you got to remember the way this system has been set is the province that after that takes the lead. It's not just mine going to the feds or going to the sovereign or funds. It all comes out with the province because the province has the control on the mining project from an environmental review process. So then to the next step to that is then to be part of the major projects. And for Newfoundland and Labrador now, Labrador is, I'm being biased here, is one of the richest. Dr. Miller will say, don't call it a trough because it comes from the iron ore, but it's the volcanic strip of 64 kilometers that we have between the three communities. So the opportunities for us are immense from as we say, from a nationalistic point of view in Labrador and Newfoundland, we can make that happen for ourselves.
And promise this is the last one. How many jobs are we talking about, Joseph? Best case scenario.
Oh, very, very little mine, Patty. It's 150 people in and 150 people out. And plus, we will have contractors. So on payroll, as we say, we would have around 300 people, but in 2 shifts. And then we are assuming that 70 to 80 contractors will be part of the play.
It's good for you to make time for the show this morning, Joseph. Anything else you'd like to say before we say goodbye?
I must thank the 3 mayors. The mayors have been incredibly supportive of the mine project. The mayors of the 3 communities have been incredibly engaged with us, and now furthermore, they're all part of our environmental committees. So we are now trying to consolidate all of that, and of course, NCC is a big player on this whole situation. So we couldn't be happier, Patty, in terms of how economically and as a community, Aboriginal conditions, everything is met. Everything is coming into play for us to, in this next couple of weeks, you will see the announcements that we will be going to environmental review full flight out.
Good news. Appreciate your time. Stay in touch, Joseph. Thank you.
Please, at any time, we appreciate your support as well. Thank you very much, sir.
My pleasure. Talk soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Joseph Lansdowne is the CEO of Search Minerals. Insofar as industry and contributions to the provincial treasury, mining is second only to oil and gas. So, and the opportunities there sound to be immense. Let's see here. Someone asked me why we didn't talk about the fact that tomorrow, Justice Alonsis Fowler, is going to tell us whether or not any of the 3 applications for judicial recount will happen. It's a curious story. I mean, remember back when Alison Coffin was shot down, and that vote discrepancy was 53 votes. So this is not just about vote discrepancy. It's also about some reported irregularities. But that story is not as simple as it sounds. Maybe we can talk about that right after the break. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 4. Verna, you're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Patty.
Good morning to you.
I'd like to talk about the people, the little children that gets raped.
Okay.
Now, those little children is going to affect their life for the rest of their life. And I said the person that do that should be sentenced the same as a person took up for murder, 10 to 20 years. Patty, there's one thing I like to say. A person takes their pet to a vet to get neutered or spaded. Now, if that person gets out on bail, I would take them to and get them castrated. Let them live through life and feel and know what they did to that little child. The same things that little child is going through.
Fair enough. You know, for me, it's the politics of it all. I can't believe we've arrived at a moment in history where we're going to play politics with whether or not people who have been raping children are exposed, investigated, got through the court system, and if found guilty, go to prison. Like, it's not a complicated world when it comes to that. But yet, folks have just dug their heels in, and it's more important to them about their political favourites and their political fortunes versus doing what is absolutely the right thing to do. It's mind-boggling to me.
Yes, that is the right thing to do. Let them suffer and go through life the same as that little child growing up affected by life.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine. And, you know, we've got stories here in this province, and we've heard people tell their individual stories, whether it be from survivors from Mount Cashel or otherwise. And, of course, it can indeed upset the rest of your life. It can ruin your life. Of course it can. The trauma associated with that must be absolutely mind-bending. I mean, it's hard to think about, isn't it, Verna?
It is. Why should that person that do that let off so easy to go out and do it to another little child? They should remind and suffer the rest of their life of what they did to that child.
No argument for me. You know,
okay, Pat.
I appreciate your time, Verna. Thank you.
Okay, Patty. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
And, you know, just... It is. I mean, if we stand back and we're being honest with ourselves, it's really difficult to accept the political hot potato that is this bloody Epstein conversation. I don't know why people are so quick to jump to the defense of one party or another. Throw it out there, open it up, let the investigations happen. I mean, and to know that the leader of the free world is now calling it a hoax. All right. I'm going to just... round off my conversation regarding Justice Fowler's decision pending tomorrow regarding whether or not the judicial recounts will be accepted. When Alison Coffin was rejected and her loss by 53 votes to John Abbott, the courts wouldn't hear it. And in this case, the closest vote margin is 18. The other is 64 and the other is 102, I believe. But here's where it gets particularly bizarre. So some people have been brought forward to testify, talking about what they observed regarding special ballots where the voters circled the candidate's name instead of marking the X. Some were counted, some were not. Then it was concerns around the counterfoil. And the problem there is, look, any irregularities have to be examined. But where it gets completely confusing to me is one of the people that came forward to testify about what they saw regarding irregularities saw it in St. Barbara Lance Meadows, or in Torgab Mountains, or in Lake Melville, not in one of the three districts that are up for debate here: Placentia West, Bellevue, Topsail Paradise, Lewisport, Twillingate. So basically what they're asking is for the courts, for Justice Fowler, and I guess for the rest of us, to infer that if there was irregularities witnessed in districts other than the three that are in play, then we should infer that those irregularities also took place in those three voting districts that are actually in question. It's a really big stretch to think that. Because, I mean, basically, if that's the point, let's just say there's irregularities identified in pick a riding, or a district, Lake Melville. By that logic, every other of the 39 voting districts could offer that argument in court and seek a judicial recount because something happened in Lake Melville, so consequently we have to believe it happened everywhere. Like, it doesn't really make any sense, does it? Now, I don't mind going through this process because integrity and the faith of election results is pretty important stuff, but anyway, that's a pretty big stretch legally or otherwise. Let's get a break in. When we come back, plenty of show left for you. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 5. Say good morning to the Executive Director at the Single Parents Association. That's Danielle Seward. Good morning, Danielle. You're on the air.
Hi, Patty. How are you this morning?
Great today. Thank you. How about you?
Oh, not too bad. Not too bad. It was great seeing everyone last week at the Pay for Play fundraiser through Hot FM as well. We were super successful with that. So it's great to be chatting with you again.
Yeah, we were happy to give our colleagues down the hall a shout out here. Last I heard for the tally was around 30,000. How did it work out at the end?
Yeah, pretty close to that. It's just under 30 grand, and we've certainly still been seeing some residual effects from it. Some donations coming in, both financial and in kind. The other side effect, I guess, that we sort of anticipated was some extra promotion and awareness, and the registrations of families and kids that are trying to get Christmas support this year has actually grown once again since last Thursday. So it's a bit of a perfect storm, but I know that you were on a couple of weeks ago chatting about the changes that we had to make to this year's Christmas Magic program, and just wanted to take an opportunity to, I guess, address that a little bit and explain the changes that we've had to make and I guess the reason behind that. So not unlike any other community organization, Single Parents Association is seeing a lot of struggles this year in particular. It's the same song and dance every year when it comes to the increased cost of living. But this year, it's definitely gone above and beyond. We've seen demand on our system unlike anything we've ever experienced before. And it's not just on the number of folks that are looking for Christmas Magic support, but it's the impact on donors in the community as well. Donors have less to give just as much as people looking for support have less to provide their kids for Christmas. So we recognize that, and we've seen that trend this year. So what we've done, Patty, is we've changed the value, basically, of what each family that is approved is able to receive for Christmas this year. So we've decreased the value from $200 worth of gifts per kid to $150. So now each family will receive just that, so $150 worth of gifts per child that's registered, a gift card to get some groceries to make sure that they have Christmas dinner on the table in whatever form they choose to use that as, and a little something for the parent as well. It's never something that we want to do to decrease the value per kid, but at the same time, there's a couple of reasons behind that. One being that very fact that donors have less to give. So we want to make it more attainable for someone that wants to support and sponsor a family to be able to do just that, but also to spread that magic as far as we can. I'm very much a believer in that. I would rather see a family receive, 75% of what they normally would and have more families receive that than see fewer families receive more. So, in an average year, we usually provide Christmas Magic to, say, 600 to 800 kids. We had 614 kids register in the first hour this year of registration. And I ran a report this morning, and we are up to close to 1,600 children. And, that's province-wide registered to receive Christmas this year. It's those are big numbers, and I know people are very concerned about that. I think it's important to remember that those numbers aren't just based in the greater St. John's area or the Avalon Peninsula. We provide our programs right across the province, all across the island, and through Labrador. So, that's definitely a steep hill for us to have to climb this year. I look at it as an opportunity to provide magic to more kids, but I guess that's the very reason for us having to make that very difficult decision this year.
Understandable. So are you going to have to cap it at some point? The numbers of registrations or applications? Yeah,
we'll have no choice. Right now, registration is still open. Single parent, it comes in all shapes and sizes. It's not a one-size-fits-all. And we're cognizant of the fact that someone today that's not a single parent may be a single parent by the time Christmas rolls around. We don't want to close off that opportunity, but we're only able to approve as many kids as we fundraise for. So, we have folks that are coming in and sponsoring an entire family, which is very generous. We have donors that are dropping off toys and gift cards. So we'll then use that to fill additional family wish lists that aren't approved by a full sponsor, and we're collecting donations on our website or through the mail, of course, and we'll do the same thing with that. So, right now, I'm really happy to share that we've already approved over 600 kids, which, we've done that in an entire season in previous years. So, between last week's fundraiser and the number of sponsors coming forward, it's been a beautiful year for that. But we certainly have a lot more kids to go. So I'm not willing to cap it just yet until we see just how much magic we can fundraise and we can collect in terms of toys and gift cards.
This is not about this particular campaign, but, some organizations are well known for certain things, whether it be single parents and back to school, single parents and the Christmas applications, but there's lots more that goes on at the Single Parents Association.
Oh, absolutely. Those tend to be the two most known programs just because they're bigger, they're seasonal, and they happen each once a year. But our organization is a year-round organization. Our primary program is actually, it's called CESP. It's the Single Parents Employment Support Program. And that is a program that's offered 3 times per year, and it's an employment readiness course for single parents that are looking to get back into the workforce. So, parents may be not working for a variety of reasons, especially when you're a single mom or a single dad. You have many more barriers to employment than the average person. So it's a 9-week virtual program. So we have parents from across the island that participate. Right now, actually, I have several parents in Labrador that are actively participating in the current session. And over the course of those 9 weeks, we teach everything from professionalism in the workplace, how to complete your resume, what's the difference between assertive communication or aggressive versus passive, anything that an individual would need in order to take that next step and get back into the workplace. So, while back to school and Christmas are the big fundraising times a year, our impact, and I would argue our stronger impact, is taking place in that particular program. It's allowing parents to be empowered with confidence and the ability to, get off the system and make that big step back into the workplace. We support them with clothing. We have a program called Margaret's Closet where they can avail of clothing for if they're going for an interview or if they're starting a new job and they can't afford to go out and buy something new. We have scrubs. We've got safety clothes, whatever a parent would need. And if they're not here in St. John's, we do a virtual shopping session and send it out to them by courier. So, this is definitely the biggest time of year for us from a fundraising perspective, and I guess more of a promotional time. But, that program and our food bank that runs here year-round, that's where we see the long-term impact.
Yeah. It's important that we keep these messages out there because they're not going away, and I don't mean to be down in the mouth here, but these cost of living issues aren't getting better anytime in the short term. Like everything else in this world, when prices go up and when shrinkflation becomes normalized, then to get those prices back down and the products to be the same size they were for $5 10 years ago, I don't know, man. It sounds like a flight of fancy to me. Anything else while we have you this morning, Danielle?
I just want to say a sincere thank you to all those that have donated already to our programs. We saw the trend this year with back to school. We actually had more donors than the previous year, but we raised less funds. So, that tells me that we all have less to donate to our charities of choice this year, but the fact that someone would still have a little and they choose to donate to whether it is the Single Parents Association or another charity this Christmas season, every dollar is appreciated, and it certainly goes a long way.
Really appreciate your time. Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too, Danielle. Bye-bye. So if you can help, I mean, when we get into this season in particular, there is a lot of need, and I think charities and not-for-profits across the board will tell you very similar stories. The need is growing, and the donor base is shrinking, and that's a perfect storm. I mean, look, I know plenty of kind-hearted people that in years past would have been quick to make donations to one cause or another, whichever one is most important to them. But given the financial strains that have increased, that's not happening anymore. So, and I know money's hard to come by, and you do as you see fit, but some of those needs, and I think when we talk about children and families at Christmas, it just kind of tugs at their heartstrings a little differently than some other times of year, I would think. All right, let's get a break in. For those of you in the queue, stay right there. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go. Line number 4. Ray, you're on the air.
Yes, Patty. Pleasant good morning to you.
The same to you, sir.
Winter time is coming on now, and I'm just calling to see if I can rally a group of people to call in about getting a heat rebate. The cost of heat has skyrocketed, as we all know. We have seniors walking the shopping malls, and even young people today can't afford to keep up with the high costs of apartments and high heat bills and everything else. And this is one area where I think that there should be a rebate given to the people. The bills are way too high. And I'm not calling on my own behalf. I'm just saying anybody who is listening this morning, call your neighbors, call your friends, get your emails going to your members, and see about getting at least a little heat rebate.
Yeah, I mean, everything is a little bit of a different conversation when it's cost of living, right? Because heat bills, we can talk about removing the provincial portion of HST from it. We can talk about rebates for those who qualify based on income. Then groceries are a different conversation. I mean, the groceries are the one that gets me. I mean, I know here comes the winter and heating my home is going to become more expensive. But regardless of who you are, where you are, that price of groceries is going to be a real devil of an issue to attack.
Oh, yes. In every area that you're looking at today. I mean, I just don't know how younger people are doing it with the high cost of groceries, the high cost of apartments have gone out of reach. You need to get a group of people together now to be able to afford to rent an apartment if you're a young person. You imagine on minimum wage out there today trying to, in the city of St. John's, trying to rent and pay your bills.
Well, it's impossible on your own. That's one thing for sure. And I'm glad we're going down the rent road. Look, some people don't like to hear this, especially my friends who are landlords. But it is time. Given the price or the cost of rent and the access to a rental unit, a rent control conversation and building more rental units is a part of this. And I don't know why we're so resistant to it. The country kind of changed its tune in housing in the 60s and 70s. At one point, we were building a lot of affordable rental units in this country. Then the country on the national front abandoned it, and now look where we are. Right, the access to a rental unit here and the price is astronomical and way out of reach for most.
Well, there's a lot of people out there struggling very, very badly, and it could be enormous for a government to give a heat rebate, but a little heat rebate could help so many people in this time. And our heat bills are only going up. They're certainly not coming down. And I thank you very much for your time, Patty.
I appreciate yours, Ray. Thanks for calling.
All the best.
You too. Bye-bye. And, you know, the power bills, and I lean in on this one all the time because I think it's fair critique, I suppose, is when we get the annual increase on the 1st of July, it doesn't get a whole lot of attention. And this past July, it was 7%. The PUB say that, you know, the application was for the increase to be closer to 11%, but they landed on 7%. But in the summertime, people don't really feel that pinch that much. 7% of 50 doesn't have the same impact as 7% of 100. And I'm just using round numbers regarding, you know, the cost to heat your home or to whatever your home during the summer months versus the winter months. So had that price increase annually been evaluated on the 1st of January, I think the conversation would sound a lot different. David, where would you like me to go here? That a 3? That's a 3. All right, let's go. Line number 3, Catherine, you're on the air.
Oh, good morning, Patty. How are you today?
I'm very well, thanks. How about you?
Not too bad, but I thought it's best for me to call in today to report a phone scam.
Okay.
So normally I don't pick up numbers that I don't know, but I've been waiting on a call from the health science, and sometimes like the name don't show up for them.
Right.
So anyway, early this morning, actually I was awake, but I was still in bed. The phone rang and I picked it up. And when I did, a gentleman on the other end, he said he knew my name and address. So he said, "Are you Catherine so-and-so?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Do you live at such and such street in St. John's, Newfoundland?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, and you shop at Canadian Tire, right? And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, we've been trying to contact you," he said, "for a couple of months," he said. He said, "You've just won $25,000. And I said, and he said, "Did you get a letter in the mail?" He said, "We sent a letter out to you in the mail." And I said, "No, I didn't get no letter in the mail." He said, probably you didn't get it because of the postal strike." And I said, "Well, I didn't get any letter in the mail." He said, "Anyway," he said, "we've been trying to contact you," he said. And he said, "So we just wanted, to get the money to you. So we want to get your information." And I said to him, "I'm sorry." I said, "I don't give information out over the phone," and click.
It's the right thing to do. The click is the welcome sound there.
Yes, I know, but I was kind of a bit concerned because he had full name and he had my full address. So yeah. I was saying, my God, was there a breach? So I did call Canadian Tire, but they didn't know of any breach. Called the manager at the store here next to me, and they gave me a number for customer care to report it. So I did report it there, and they said that they could have got my name and number from anywhere and just used Canadian Tire in hopes that I'd be a customer. So he said there's really no fear of any of your information, because first I thought, well, I do have a Canadian Tire credit card, right? But anyway, no, they said they can get your name and number from any such information, and as long as, you don't give them any other information, nothing else will go about it. But, I said I should call and let you guys know that this is going around. And I think I'm going to call the RNC and report it as well.
Why not? Because if we don't report it, then the scams don't. The public isn't as aware as they should be of the endless scams that circulate, and it only gets worse around this time of year. I appreciate you making time for the show. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's why I decided to call. I said, because it's close to Christmas. And I said, now, if somebody got right excited, like, "Oh, my God, I won $25,000.
Yeah.
And, sometimes that's just kind of wants you to blurt out all kinds of information, right? So I said, I better call and let you know. And thank God that I didn't... I didn't go along with it, but I'm still concerned that he knew my name and my full address.
And there's a lot of reasons as to why that becomes the case. I'm glad you didn't fall for it, Catherine, and thanks for letting the listeners know.
Okay, thank you. You have a wonderful day.
You too. Thanks for calling. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I mean, just a couple of quick thoughts. One of the most lucrative items out there in the marketplace is your information. So, I mean, we're quick to sign up for different applications on our phone that might see or result in some savings at one shop or another. Then it's the relatively new concept of them asking for your email address. And why? It's the convenience of emailing you your receipt, or maybe to be entered in for a contest, or to sign up for their credit card, or to sign up for their points process. Who knows where the information goes? I mean, some of the companies out there are probably bad actors. They will sell your information, your contact information, to the highest bidder. And then they do with it who knows what. Then you've got the corporation that shared or sold your information kind of sitting on the sidelines playing dumb, as if they don't know that the person who bought the info could use it for this nefarious operation of calling this lady, knows her name, knows her street address, knows her phone number, knows she shops at Canadian Tire. And this is not a Canadian Tire specific conversation. People that sell that personal information are making scads. Those who buy it are also making tons of money because they scammed you with it. Right? There's no coincidence. If you go to your Google bar and you just start typing whatever, all of a sudden, it fills out the thing for you. Winter coats, right? Something like that. So, I mean, the way we have to protect our information is unbelievable. Add that to my newfound rally cry regarding artificial intelligence. Man, it's hard to believe anything anymore. Let's take a break for the news. Do not go away.
You're listening to a rebroadcast of VOCM Open Line. Have your say by calling 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626 and listen live weekday mornings at 9 a.m.
Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 1. Good morning, Kenny. You're on the air.
How you doing?
Not too bad. How about you?
Right on. I'm calling in here mostly about the food bank we got here in Belle Isle.
About what on Belle Island, sorry?
The food bank.
The food bank, okay.
Right? Like St. John, over in St. John's you can go every day. But here, you only allow to go down once a month.
I believe it's only once a week here in St. John's, too, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, it's not what I heard, right? Because rumors go everywhere. But
yeah.
The one here in Belle Isle, I can't see why they can't be open every 2 weeks.
I suppose there's a couple of different reasons.
It's not only me.
Well, I'm sure it's not only you, but I mean, there's probably a couple of reasons why. One is probably going to be the amount of food that they actually have to give out, and two, whether or not they have volunteers to keep it open as frequently as some people would like. I guess those are two of the reasons.
Right, we only because here in Allen we only get it out once a month.
Okay.
Right, the middle of every month. Right, I can't see why they can't give it out twice a week because I know it's there. Right, because I'm after seeing it.
Yeah, and I'm not very familiar with the food bank operations on Belle Island, and I suppose we can simply ask them as to why the rules are the way they are. I can try that much for you, Kenny.
Well, I'd like to see the people on Belle Isle, right, call in and agree with me, right, because people got children here running around, right, they're only 5 or 6 years old. You don't know if they have something to eat or not.
You don't know if they have what?
If they have eaten or not.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right?
Which is a sad state of affairs.
Right?
Yeah, I'll get some information for you just so I have a better understanding of how they operate and why they have the rules the way they are. And I'm pretty sure here in town it's a once a week visit, and I've been told that many times. And I don't even know if every food bank operates under the same rules, so to speak.
And another thing,
okay.
Right? I gotta bring it up. I'm trying to get my house fixed up on the grant. I'm after mail in 2 applications. Still never heard from them. I got a 2-story house here. It's all the upstairs is brand new. No carpet or nothing. Only two dressers and a stereo is upstairs. I got my living room fully furnished, but I got to get a hot water tank and washer or whatever, right? And I got to get the kitchen done.
So you're talking about applying to the home modification or the home renovation fund as part of the seniors benefits?
Yep.
Okay.
Right, and I'm after mailing in 2 applications.
How long ago did you apply?
Oh, over 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's probably going to take every bit of that before there's a review and a result of your application. Last time we checked, the turnaround was around 8 weeks, so hopefully you'll get an answer sooner than later.
No, I know the way these people work, right? They rather keep the money for themselves and let our person do without it.
Well, hopefully that's not the case. I do know people who have actually benefited from the $400 and for home modification or home renovation. So some money is absolutely flowing, and hopefully it flows your way. If you're eligible, I hope you get the cash.
Right. I only need the downstairs done.
Okay.
I need the 2 doors. Take the kitchen sink out of it and put a new one there. Right, and I want a washer and dryer somewhere. Right.
Yeah,
and I need to get a electrician in to check my panel box.
Yeah, I don't know if things like laundry set is included in those programs, but things like trying to make your home a bit more energy efficient and for basic repairs, there's money there for that. That much I do know.
Well, I know people that have been getting washers and dryers out them.
Yeah, I don't know if it's from that program. There's probably some help out there on that front, and I'm not so sure it's in the home renovation program money. But insofar as the food bank goes, Kenny, I will find out from the people who operate the food bank on Bell Island exactly why the schedule is the way it is. That much I can definitely do for you. And let me know about your application for some renovation money.
I will, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Kenny. All the best. All right, so Connie's on 3, wants to respond to Kenny. Let's go to line 3. Connie, you're on the air.
Oh, hi, Patty. I have a very, very, very good friend who works the food bank.
Okay.
And picks up food every day, and he uses his own truck, and he's a wonderful man. But food bank is once a month. And they give out every week, but you have to be signed up, and you're only allowed to go to have the food bank once a month. And you have to be registered. So, like, you can't go from one food bank to another food bank. You're registered with a food bank, and the give out is once a month.
Yeah, and for folks in need, that doesn't sound like a very frequent opportunity to get some help at the food bank. But I'm guessing the reasons are the reasons I offered to Kenny, is because the amount of food.
The need is so bad.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, the need is so bad. But, you know, they give out a lot of food. They do give out a lot of food. But I can guarantee you that the give out per person is once a month.
Apparently so.
Yes, and that's it. Yeah, it's once a month. Yeah. So I just wanted to let you know, because you know, I know this person very, very well. He's picking up food from places every day. So he's and they give out on a certain day, one day of the week, and you know, it's different people every week. But you're registered for a food bank, and you're only allowed to have food once a month.
Pretty sad state of affairs, but I appreciate the information, Connie. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Patty.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Okay, my love, bye.
All right, let's get to the break. When we come back, Russell's in the queue. He's the gentleman we were speaking with yesterday morning when we had the technical difficulties, so we'll pick up a conversation with Russell right after this, and then plenty of time for you. Welcome back to the show. As directed by Mr. Williams, we're going to line number 4. Say good morning to the Executive Director at the Newfoundland Credit Counselling Services of Newfoundland and Labrador. That's Lauren Howell. Lauren, you're on the air.
Hi, Patty. Thanks for taking my call.
Happy to do it.
Just calling in. Yes, thank you. Just calling in, I think it's a little timely. It's Financial Literacy Month, and Christmas is coming. And a lot of people are coming to us and saying that they had no idea we had existed, they wish that they knew about us a lot sooner. So I'm just here to talk a little bit about credit counseling and what we do and how we can help people.
Let's do it.
So, yeah, let's do it. So Credit Counseling Services of Newfoundland and Labrador is a nonprofit organization, and we've been helping people across the province of Newfoundland and Labrador for over 40 years. So most of that work was done by Al Antle, who, Patty, you probably know very well. And I've been the executive director for a couple of years, and before that, I was a credit counselor since 2015. So might be a listener or two here that knows me. So we're local. We're the only not-for-profit credit counseling agency that just focuses on Newfoundland and Labrador. We're very community-based. Our goal is very simple. We're here to help people. We want to help people take control of their finances, especially in these difficult times when it feels like we have no control. We try to help people reduce financial stress. Financial stress is huge on people right now. It's weighing so heavily on people, affecting relationships, affecting marriages. It's a really tough time. And we just want to help people build some stability in their financial life.
I wonder inside...
What we do...
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, if you want to ask me a question, you can.
Sure. I just wonder how the approach to financial literacy has also changed over the years. Because when we first learned about it, and this is a long time ago, it wasn't just about budgeting, because that's what I think people hear when they hear financial literacy is budgeting, but it also used to come with a lot of issues regarding savings, rainy days, how to manage your debt, investing, when for so many people, saving for a rainy day or investing or being able to adequately manage their debt is not really available to them because they are pinching. So have we changed the way we even approach financial literacy? Because it used to be all those things. Now it seems more like budgeting.
Yeah, definitely. Because, right now the big focus is on debt, Patty, because people don't have enough money to get from payday to the next. So they're getting paid, they're paying all their bills, maybe there's a little bit of money left over, they'll use that up, and then they're using credit cards, they're using lines of credit, they're using houses as an ATM. People are getting payday loans, hand over fist, and you borrow $1,000, you pay back $3,000. So how do you get out of that cycle? So a lot of our financial literacy right now is focused on debt counseling. Mm-hmm. So helping people figure out what their options are. It's not just bankruptcy. Bankruptcy is great. It's a good option. It can be, the light at the end of the tunnel that people need, the fresh start. But there are options outside of that, and people just don't know. They go to their bank, they ask for help, they're told no, and they don't know where to turn. So credit counseling, we do offer a program here too as well, just to spin off what we're talking about. It's called a debt consolidation program. So you can consolidate your unsecured debt at usually 0% or low interest for 60 months and pay it off. So unsecured debt is things like credit cards, loans, things that aren't attached to an asset. So like you can't do your mortgage or your car loan. But it's a really helpful program because a lot of Canadians are carrying, like the average client we see has about $40,000 in unsecured debt. And they're paying $800 or $900 a month towards it, and it's just a huge bill. So that is a program that we offer. And you're right, the financial literacy, budgeting is a piece of it. Building your credit, understanding your credit score. A lot of people, that can be a barrier, not having a good enough credit score. And just understanding how the banking system works, how to get what they need, what to ask for, how to communicate with their service providers, their banks. So yeah, right now, people are dealing with so much. It's not just the cost of living, it's all the other stuff too, job loss, illness, divorce. So we're trying to help people in all different types of situations. And I think our services just really matter right now because the cost of living has been climbing. It's not getting any better. And I heard you mention earlier, it doesn't really look like it's going to get a lot better anytime soon. And that's a sad reality. So grocery bills, housing, heating, interest rates have come down a little bit, but it's still not enough for people to afford to pay down their debt. So more and more people are feeling overwhelmed. It's not just people in the lower income. It's people making $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 a year. It's two-income households. It's young families. It's seniors who saved all their lives, paid off their home, but they don't have enough money coming in for the cost of living. So we're dealing with people, we're dealing with students, young families, older families, seniors, new Canadians, you name it. So I think our services really matter, and it's important that people know that we're here. We're here to help. We really care, and our services are free. So there's no barrier. You don't have to make a certain income, or you don't have to be unemployed. Anyone can use our services, as long as you're from Newfoundland and Labrador.
Yeah, I mean, interest rates, people don't like this, but interest rates were too low for too long. I mean, the average household debt here in Canada, when you back out a mortgage, is for every dollar coming in, on average, Canadians are paying out $1.83 to manage their debt. I mean, that's unsustainable.
I've been paying $1.81. Is it $1.83 now? Oh my goodness, it was $1.81. But isn't that wild? So for every dollar a Canadian makes, paying out $1.83, and that's how people are surviving right now. Like, you see people with houses and 2 cars, they don't own them, right? They have finance. They're financed until, if we didn't have access to credit, people wouldn't have all the things that they have right now. That's how people are getting by. That's how Christmas is happening this year. It's credit cards and loans.
Yeah.
And borrowed money.
Yeah, look, there's lots of people with a lot of great stuff and toys and big homes and expensive cars who are, believe it or not, a paycheck away from losing some of it. And you can bet your bottom dollar that's true.
Oh, yeah.
In the world of debt consolidation, who's buying up the debt?
Pardon?
Who's backstopping the debt? Who's buying the debt?
I don't know what you mean, Patty.
So if I have $40,000 that I owe in unsecured debt, and I get it consolidated down, and I lower my monthly bill, I lower my interest rate, at some point, the people who you owe those monies to, they aren't doing you any favors out of the goodness of their heart. There's a shift in how the debt is managed and who maybe holds the debt. So how does it actually work at credit counseling?
So here at Credit Counseling, you actually pay your debt in full. So like if you owe $40,000 between Canadian Tire, Scotiabank, TD, Money Mart, you pay all your debt in full. It's just that the interest stops on a go-forward basis. So there is no settlement piece to it, if that's what you're talking about.
Okay, fair enough.
So we're not a debt consolidation company. People need to be very careful about those debt consolidation companies, because there's not a lot of protection for the consumer. If you go to one of those private debt consolidation companies and they tell you we're going to settle your $40,000 debt for $20,000, really question it, because we have seen people where that $20,000 a year later, there's somebody out of the blue from some random phone number, some random collection agency is calling you saying that we're here to collect that $10,000 that you thought was written off. We do not recommend settlements. Always go to a reputable company like Credit Counseling Services in Newfoundland, or a legitimate licensed insolvency trustee.
Of which there are some good, reputable ones here.
Scam.
Yeah. Last one before I let you go.
Got lovely Nancy Snowden and Ian Penny. Yeah. Always support local. Always go somewhere trusted. Do your research before you do any kind of debt consolidation. And if you're questioning a company, give us a call. We'll let you know if they're legit or not.
Yeah, I mean, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Last one. The financial world changes very, very quickly. So it's the concept of, teaching financial literacy in high school, but that's just the starting point. As we age, approaching different stages of life, getting married, having children, putting them in the university, preparing for our senior years. What about the concept of lifelong learning? Whether it be through podcasts or interaction with your banker or people like yourself, because things change. And before you know it, the way your money is managed has changed. The way your debt is managed changes. The way you can invest changes. So talk about a bit of lifelong learning to make sure you're on top of your finances.
Yeah, I think it's so important. People think they have it all figured out. They know what they're doing, but that's not always the case. Like you said, things are always changing. It's good to keep on top of it. Talking to your bank. I always reference the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada website. It's a great website. It reads at like a grade 6 level, so it's very easy to understand. There's all sorts of topics there about every stage of life. So having a baby, getting married, buying your first car, getting your first credit card, retiring, the kids leave the house, empty nest, everything you can think of is there. So that's a great website that I use a lot, and I tell a lot of my clients to use. But it's never too late. There's tons of free webinars. We do webinars here at Credit Counseling Services. It's never a bad idea to sit and take an hour and learn a little bit about what's going on. And have those regular meetings with your bank or your investment company. You know, they always reach out once a year, and people are like, "Oh, I don't want to go to that. I don't care what's happening," or "I'll look at that another time." Go take the meeting, see what's going on, pay attention to your investments, keep on top of it. People think it's really hard, complicated stuff, but if you understand the basics, it's really not, and then you can build from that. Yeah, it's never too late, Patty.
Yeah, and don't take my advice, but don't be so quick to be so risk-averse either. There's lots of middle-of-the-road type of opportunities out there for those who are really worried. And there's lots of different agencies that backstop money too, whether it's money in the bank with the CDIC or others. So, you know, have a real comprehensive conversation with someone who's trying to help you manage your money and or your debt. Lauren, appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for calling.
Thank you, Patty. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye. Lauren Howell, Executive Director at the Newfoundland Credit Counselling of NL. Yeah. Let's take a break. You stay right there. Russell will talk about his divorce finances, and then we're going to speak with you. Don't go away.
The Tim Powers Show. Join the conversation weekday afternoons at 4 p.m. on your VOCM.
Welcome back. Let's go. Line number 2. Russell, you're on the air.
Good morning, Patty.
Morning to you.
That last caller was excellent.
Absolutely.
Where I'm going through this divorce.
Mm-hmm.
But my problem is that I went once we got the divorce papers finalized, I went to the bank and they flatly turned me down my request for $160,000. Now we just to say I'll just let me read through what you were talking about, because one of the things that I was really interested was that lady with a patient in Carbonear, and the failure for him to get the treatment that he needs, because I got family and friends going through the exact same thing, and they may end up like, how can the system fail you so badly?
So, I don't know the ins and outs of your request $160,000 at the bank, but is there some sort of issue with the finalizing of the divorce settlement?
No, that's finalized. This is a portion of the. This is what let's say. Just let me go through this, Patty. I was wondering what the lack of treatment, or where nurses, like the ability to get nurses, did that come from the travel nurses, where all these ambulances and stuff were came into? Just let me start on my right up here, Patty.
Okay.
But in Conception Bay, the hospital is in Carbonear, and these travel nurses came on board, and it's really blatantly noticeable to the public, because there's hundreds of these little, smaller than right. So these, what do you call it, ambulance nurses are in smaller ambulances. I was thinking if the government could document how many vehicles there are, how many people are in them, and obviously the drivers will probably be new hires. I believe you will see where the nurses and the have gone. The cost of they could also evaluate the cost of operation also, and evaluate the total cost of operation of each small ambulance.
I'm pretty sure those numbers are available, especially since they've all been amalgamated under the public system now.
Well, that'd be interesting, right? Because it seems to be that travel buses seems to be something that's been brought up on your show.
What's travel buses?
Travel nurses.
Oh, travel nurses.
Travel ambulances, I should call them, right? But they haven't got the full-fledged big, rectangular ambulance that we're all used to before these started here. And there must be 50 here in Conception Bay North. So that means all the nurses in the hospital and long-term care a lot of them may have just went with something where they got a 9 to 5 job or 8 to 5. And then the rectangular ambulances that we're deal with all night.
Yeah, I mean, there's no problem to get the accurate count of the number of ambulances, number of people working on the ambulances, because there's not every person on an ambulance has the exact same background, training, and accreditation. But I can get those numbers. I can get travel agency nurse numbers too.
Well, I'm not really worried about it. I'm just thinking it's a major issue in terms of the care that you're getting in Carbonear. If all those people chose to get on a 9 to 5, say, a job instead of 24 hours a day.
Okay, I can get those numbers. They're relatively easily accessible.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah, and then I'd like to talk about, say, the divorce and what implications that had.
Well, if we could do it quickly.
Okay. Can I call in tomorrow?
Not tomorrow. Let's aim for next week.
Oh, yeah, next week. Okay.
Okay, let's do that.
Yeah. I really. What was the name of that previous caller?
Lauren Howell at the Credit Counseling Services.
Lauren Howell. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. All the best. Bye-bye. Will I get another one in here, Dave, before we get to the break? Maybe get the food bank regulations? Yeah, let's do that. Let's go to line number 1. Say good morning to Rudy Singleton with Emmaus House. He's the chair at Emmaus House. Good morning, Rudy. You're on the air.
Good morning, Paddy, and how are you today?
I'm not too bad at all. How about you?
Good. Paddy, I heard a lady or a gentleman calling in from Belle Island, and I just want to offer some clarification on eligibility to get food at the food banks.
Please do.
Number one, the food banks are not meant to be a sole source of food. They're meant to bridge a gap in the arrival of income to purchase food for the family. So we give a full hamper every 28 days. And then if people present within that period, say within 2 weeks of the first of the full hamper, they can get an emergency, which is meant to hold them over for a couple of days, and then hopefully they'll get their income and they can replenish their own groceries.
Okay, I mean, it's, conceptually speaking, for people not to have full reliance on food banks was always the way, but those issues and the reality of life for some individuals has also changed at the same time.
Eddie, the lady who was on there from the credit counseling, she mentioned so many scenarios that are so true of us. I mean, we have people coming where the two spouses are working, and they have a couple of children, and they just can't make a go of it. And we're getting a lot of larger families coming to us, and we're getting people coming, Paddy. And we operate on a premise of dignity to the people who show up at our door, and we're getting people who come and they're just saying to us, I can't believe I'm doing this. But and we treat them with the utmost dignity because their self-esteem has already been assaulted. But in terms of eligibility, and Paddy, the other thing is too, somebody mentioned about calling into several food banks. We call into community food sharing, and they can tell us where a person obtained food within the last month, whether they went to Salvation Army or Bridges to Hope or any other food bank.
Yeah, the face of the clientele has obviously changed, and that is not a good thing. Rudy, anything else before I take my final break of the morning?
No, Paddy, just that I want to thank you for the opportunities you afford us to get what we deem to be important messages out to our people.
We're happy to help whenever possible.
Wish you all the best, Paddy. Have a good day.
You too, Rudy. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Rudy Singleton, the chair at Emmaus House. Let's get our final break of the morning. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 2. Paul, you're on the air.
Good morning, Paddy.
Good morning.
I was going to call you Strutter, but I think I held off on it.
Fair enough.
I want to call on you, Paddy, to Remembrance Day a couple of days ago. And I know you noticed it as well as everybody else in the city. The fast food restaurants are all open. I got a problem with that, Paddy. I don't think that's being very respectful to the fallen soldiers. I really don't. And a couple of years ago, I called down to, the one on McDonald's on Topsail Road. I live next door. I wasn't being saucy or anything. I just wanted to speak to the manager in charge and asked him why they were open on Remembrance Day. And his reply was, "If you got a problem with that, call the manager." That's what he told me. "You got a problem with that? Well, phone head office." So that's what I did. And at the time, the Bennett Group of Companies owned this particular restaurant chain. And I can't remember the man's name now, but he sent me 3 coupons, Patty, for Big Mac combos. I never asked for them, but I guess that's just his way of apologizing for what that man had said to me. He told me that he had had a word with him as well. But that was rather rude in the meantime. But I guess, I'm sure you noticed that, Patty, and I honestly don't know why the government allows it, because what's so special about McDonald's or any other restaurant when everybody else got to close down and show respect for, the Remembrance Day? To me, there's no excuse for it. I know it's not a top priority with the government, but maybe when they have a slow day, they should change that rule. Do you agree with that, Patty?
Yeah, I don't know what should or should not be open. Like, when the gas station's open, I get that. I mean, there's going to be people who need gas on Remembrance Day or Christmas Day or what have you. Fast food, it's an interesting case study. Are there people that rely on a fast food restaurant? Boy, I don't know to the extent with which they need to have it open on the 11th of November, but I hadn't really given it a whole lot of thought. Like, even like Shoppers. Was Shoppers open on Remembrance Day? Because that seems to be open all the time, regardless of the holiday.
When you got a pharmacy, you can get away with it, say?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I don't think there's a pharmacy at McDonald's, right? But I mean, I took that pretty bad. You got a problem with that, buddy? Well, phone the office, right? But that was kind of rude in the meantime. But I don't shop down there anymore. I give it up, But I mean, I shouldn't just pick on them, because it's probably all of them, Patty. Burger King, Wendy's, you name it. It just, for the sake of one day, to remember, it's an important day. My dad was in Vietnam, but he was in the Army for 20 years. So, I mean, it's in the blood, right?
Absolutely. And I hadn't really given much thought to the fast food issue regarding Remembrance Day or some other holidays where they're also remained open. Yeah, fair enough. And regardless of whether or not they should or should not be open, for folks who are, answering phones at one of these outlets, even if you get a stock message from your manager or the owners so that you can, respond respectfully as opposed to shrug your shoulders and, here's a quarter, call someone who cares.
That's about it, too, yeah. Well, I just thought I'd vent my 2 cents, my buddy. I'll let you go, Strutter.
I appreciate it.
Have a good day, buddy.
Thanks, Paul. All the best.
Bye.
Little inside baseball nickname in there. All right, let's go to line 3. Ralph, you're on the air.
Good morning, Patty. It's Ralph Strickland from St. Bride's calling.
Hiya, Ralph.
Hi there. I'd like first to say thanks to Mr. Aloysius for fighting for our clean water and the new council now that's in. We got that hurdle just about over with, but now we find out that the 2 of the artesian wells that is on private property, we might have to either lease the wells or buy the property from the existing mayor and his brother, because we don't have access to 2 of the wells that were put in.
So that's the update, is it has to make a purchase from municipal leaders to rectify the issue? Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, yeah, because the ex-mayor, it was the one well ended up on his property, and the other one ended up on his brother's property. So these 2 wells are producing about 25 to 30 gallons a minute, but we don't have access to their property. So once these wells, if they ever want to go online, we found out. I got a call yesterday saying that they're going to have to either buy the property from the existing mayor, ex-mayor, and his brother in order for us to have use of them. Remember, I told you a while back I'll be still having this conversation with you in 2 years from now. Our council is working with. They had someone out looking at it. They're doing their best, but every time they go over one hurdle, there's another one in front of them, because the way things were set up from the existing mayor, it's such a screw up. We have an all new road thanks to Sherry Gamblin. We have now all the pipes are on the opposite side of our water line. So if they decide that they're going to go ahead with those, they got to cut up our road. Things weren't really thought out. I don't know. The one up the road from me, there was a couple of truckloads of 10 by 10 pressure-treated planks sitting on that for a couple of years. And I know what pressure-treat, some of the ingredients in pressure-treated lumber, which one of them is arsenic. And it keeps the rodents away and the bugs from eating it. So and all the rain's been out in the open, so that's been leaking, and it's only about 20 feet from where the well is dug. So even if we do get access to them, are they going to be usable?
That's a fair question. I can't picture in my mind's eye the logistics on the ground there, but it's not an ideal outcome when it has to be a private sector purchase from municipal leaders to get to the bottom of it. Ralph, anything else you want to say this morning? Because I'm right up against the clock.
Okay, thank you very much, and I'll be chatting with you some other time.
I look forward to it. Thank you.
Yeah,
bye, Ralph. We are very quickly out of time. Otto, you call now again tomorrow. We'll have this conversation because I want to give you enough time to make your point. You know, an interesting point made by an emailer regarding what is or what is not open in the city or in the province on holidays like Remembrance Day. It's interesting to point out that even in Ottawa, it's not a holiday. You know, this province is pretty unique in how we handle Remembrance Day. In Ottawa, business as usual. Nobody bats an eye, but it's a fair concern or question to be asked about what kind of shops should or could be open on days like Remembrance Day. All right, final checking on the Twitter box. For anybody trying to send me direct messages, I guess overnight the whole process for direct messages on Twitter changed. It's some sort of chats thing now that I got to sign up for and add a new passcode and stuff. Well, I haven't done it, or haven't done it yet. So if you've sent me a direct message there today and think I'm ignoring you, no, I just simply can't see them yet, but I will rectify that in the near future. All right, good show today. Big thanks to all hands. We will indeed pick up this conversation again tomorrow morning, right here on VOCM and Big Land FM's Open Line. On behalf of the producer, David Williams, I'm your host, Paddy Daly. Have yourself a safe, fun, happy day. We'll talk in the morning. Bye-bye.